Deep in the heart of the Sahara, where golden sands whisper forgotten stories, there once stood a treasure greater than any vault of gold. The Lost Library of Timbuktu was not just a collection of books, it was a beacon of knowledge, holding secrets so profound they could rewrite history. Imagine a place where scholars from across the ancient world gathered, where the stars were mapped with impossible precision, and where the wealth of empires was recorded in cryptic manuscripts. Then, in the blink of an eye, it vanished. Centuries later, whispers remain of 25 mysterious records hidden within its walls, texts so controversial, so ahead of their time, that they were deliberately erased from history. What did these records contain? Why were they deemed too dangerous to survive? And what truths might they reveal about our past? Today, we're pulling back the veil on these enigmatic documents, piecing together fragments of a lost world. From Forbidden Astronomy Scrolls that predicted celestial events with eerie accuracy, to the coded wealth secrets of the richest man who ever lived, each of these 25 records holds a puzzle waiting to be solved. This is not just a journey into the past, it's a hunt for knowledge that was meant to stay buried. So stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll uncover secrets that challenge everything you thought you knew about history, power, and the fragile nature of human wisdom. The Lost Library's final message is waiting. Let's begin. Now, let's turn our attention to the first of these enigmatic records, the Forbidden Astronomy Scrolls. These ancient texts were no ordinary star charts. They contained celestial predictions so precise, so unnervingly accurate, that scholars still debate how such knowledge could have existed centuries ahead of its time. Some say the scrolls were the work of a secretive group of astronomers who had unlocked the secrets of the cosmos. Others whisper of influences far beyond human understanding. What made these scrolls truly dangerous, though, wasn't just their accuracy, it was what they revealed. They mapped eclipses, planetary alignments, and even celestial events that wouldn't occur for hundreds of years. Rulers who came to power after Timbuktu's golden age saw this knowledge as a threat. If the stars could be read like a roadmap, what did that mean for prophecies, for destiny, for the control of empires? And so, the scrolls were declared forbidden, hidden away, and eventually lost, or so it seemed. But here's where the mystery deepens. Fragments of similar astronomical records have surfaced in unexpected places, from medieval European monasteries to private collections in the Middle East. Were these remnants of Timbuktu's forbidden knowledge smuggled out before the library's fall, or were they copies made by those who dared to preserve the truth? Some believe the original scrolls still exist, buried in the Sahara's shifting sands or locked away in a vault, waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered. One thing is certain, these scrolls weren't just about the stars, they were about power, and power, once hidden, has a way of resurfacing when we least expect it. But the mysteries of Timbuktu's lost library don't end with the stars. Among its most tantalizing treasures was a manuscript so shrouded in secrecy that even today, its true meaning eludes us: the coded writings of Sultan Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa wasn't just wealthy, he was history's richest man, a ruler whose legendary pilgrimage to Mecca scattered so much gold along his route that it destabilized economies for years. But how did he amass such unimaginable wealth? Some believe the answers lie within this cryptic manuscript, a labyrinth of symbols and diagrams that defy conventional translation. Unlike any other text from the era, its pages are filled with geometric patterns, sequences of dots, and strange, looping scripts that resemble no known language. Scholars have spent decades trying to crack its code. Some theories suggest it's a financial ledger, detailing the gold mines and trade networks that fueled Musa's empire. Others argue it's something far more intriguing, a treasure map, pointing to hidden caches of gold or even lost cities deep in the Sahara, the most tantalizing clue. A series of repeated symbols that some researchers believe correspond to locations along ancient caravan routes, places where Musa's wealth might still lie buried. Yet the manuscript's secrets remain stubbornly out of reach. Modern technology, from spectral imaging to artificial intelligence, has been deployed to decode its pages, but progress is slow. Part of the challenge is the manuscript's delicate state. Handled too much, it risks crumbling into dust, but the greater obstacle might be its creator's intent. Was Musa encoding his knowledge to protect it from rivals, or was this a test left behind for only the worthiest minds to solve? One thing is certain, this isn't just a historical puzzle. It's a siren call to adventurers and scholars alike, a whisper from the past that promises riches beyond imagination, and somewhere beneath the sands of time, the truth waits. But the enigma of Timbuktu's lost knowledge takes an even more fascinating turn when we step into the world of healing. Among the library's most prized possessions was a medical treatise attributed to none other than Ibn Sina, the Persian polymath whose work shaped medicine for centuries. Known in the West as Avicenna, his writings were already revolutionary, but this particular text was said to contain breakthroughs so advanced they bordered on the unbelievable. Imagine a manuscript detailing surgical procedures centuries ahead of their time, techniques for cataract removal, wound sterilization, even early forms of anesthesia. According to scattered accounts, Ibn Sina's lost treatise described the use of herbal compounds to dull pain during operations, a concept Europe wouldn't embrace until the 1800s. Even more startling were its passages on infectious diseases, proposing theories about unseen, minute organisms spreading illness, an idea that predated germ theory by nearly 800 years. So why did such a groundbreaking text vanish? Some historians blame the chaos of Timbuktu's decline, when countless manuscripts were looted or destroyed. Others whisper of deliberate suppression. Powerful figures who feared the knowledge within could undermine their authority. The most compelling clue comes from a surviving letter by a 15th century scholar who claimed the treatise was smuggled out of Timbuktu by a group of physicians sworn to protect its secrets. But where it went, no one knows. Today, researchers piece together fragments like detectives reconstructing a burnt document. References to Ibn Sina's lost chapters appear in Ottoman medical texts, while West African oral traditions speak of a book of miracles carried south by fleeing scholars. Modern teams use spectral imaging to scan later manuscripts, hunting for erased passages that might match the treatise's descriptions. The hope that somewhere, buried in an overlooked archive or private collection, the original still exists, waiting to rewrite medical history once more. What's clear is this wasn't just another scroll. It was a beacon of knowledge so bright, its light still flickers through time, urging us to keep searching. And as we'll soon see, Timbuktu's vanished records only grow stranger from here. Now, let's shift our gaze from the secrets of medicine to a discovery that challenges everything we thought we knew about early cartography. Hidden among Timbuktu's lost records was a map so precise, it defied the era in which it was created, the phantom map of pre-colonial Africa. Unlike the crude, often speculative maps of 15th century Europe, this artifact depicted the African continent with astonishing accuracy, charting rivers, mountain ranges, and even trade routes that wouldn't be officially documented for centuries. What makes this map truly baffling is its origins. Carbon dating suggests it was crafted in the late 1400s, yet it includes details like the source of the Nile and the full expanse of the Sahara, knowledge European explorers wouldn't uncover until the 1800s. Some scholars argue it was compiled from ancient African and Arab geographical texts, now lost to time. Others, however, point to its eerie precision as evidence of something more extraordinary. Could this map have been influenced by advanced or even otherworldly sources? Fringe theories suggest extraterrestrial contact or forgotten high civilizations, though mainstream historians dismiss these claims as speculative. The map's fate only deepens the intrigue. According to surviving accounts, it was deliberately burned in the 16th century by a Moroccan commander during the invasion of Timbuktu. But why destroy such a valuable document? Some believe it exposed trade networks that rival powers wanted to control. Others speculate it contained symbols or locations tied to esoteric knowledge, perhaps even gateways to legendary cities like Timbuktu's rumored Golden Vaults. Today, the Phantom Map exists only in fragments and second-hand descriptions. A 19th-century French explorer claimed to have seen a copy in a Timbuktu scholar's private collection, but it vanished during colonial looting. Modern researchers scour satellite imagery and oral histories, hoping to reconstruct its contents. Could this map rewrite the history of exploration? One thing is certain, its existence hints at a web of knowledge far more sophisticated than we've been taught, and a past that's still hiding in plain sight. As we peel back another layer of Timbuktu's mysteries, the next record plunges us into an even darker enigma, the silent chronicles of the Sahara's vanished caravans. Now let's journey deeper into the heart of the Sahara, where the sands whisper tales of caravans that never returned. Among the lost records of Timbuktu lies a chilling first-hand account known as the Silent Chronicles of the Sahara Caravans. This manuscript, penned by an unknown traveler, meticulously documents the bustling trade routes that once connected North Africa to the kingdoms of the South. But what makes these chronicles so haunting isn't just their historical value, it's the abrupt way they end, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The early pages brim with life, detailing the vibrant exchanges of gold, salt, and spices, as well as the camaraderie among merchants navigating the harsh desert. Yet, as the entries progress, the tone shifts. The writer begins noting strange occurrences: caravans found abandoned with supplies intact, as if their occupants simply vanished mid-journey. Then come the warnings, mentions of unseen forces stalking the dunes, whispers of shadows that move against the wind. The final entry is the most unsettling. Dated to the year 1523, it describes a frantic decision to reroute the caravan after spotting distant figures with eyes like embers watching from the rocks. After that silence, historians have long debated what happened. Some argue the caravans fell victim to bandits or natural disasters, their remains buried by shifting sands. Others point to the chronicler's vivid descriptions as evidence of something more sinister. Local legends speak of ancient desert spirits or even lost civilizations that defended their territories ruthlessly. But perhaps the most compelling clue lies in the manuscript itself. Forensic analysis reveals the last pages were stained with a substance resembling salt water, as if the writer wept while penning those final words. Today, the silent chronicles serve as a grim reminder of the Sahara's untold dangers. Modern archaeologists have scoured the regions mentioned, uncovering remnants of campsites and scattered artifacts, but no bodies. Whatever befell those caravans, their fate remains sealed in the desert's embrace. And as we turn the page to our next mystery, prepare to confront a text so controversial it was erased from history: the Heretical Gospel of Timbuktu. But now, let's shift our focus from the desert's eerie silence to a manuscript that sparked theological firestorms: the Heretical Gospel of Timbuktu. Unlike any other religious text from the region, this gospel dared to challenge the established narratives of early Christianity in Africa, offering a version of events so radical that authorities deemed it dangerous. Written in the 15th century, its pages wove together local traditions with Christian teachings, suggesting that African apostles played a far greater role in spreading the faith than previously acknowledged. What made this gospel so explosive wasn't just its content. It was the way it blurred the lines between orthodoxy and heresy. It described miracles performed by African saints unrecognized by the broader church and hinted at secret teachings passed down from Jesus himself. Scholars believe these ideas drew from Gnostic traditions, mystical beliefs that emphasized hidden knowledge over institutional dogma. To the rulers and religious leaders of the time, such claims were unforgivable. By the 16th century, copies of the Gospel were systematically hunted down and burned, its very existence erased from official records, yet whispers of the text persisted. Oral traditions among Tuareg nomads spoke of a Book of Forbidden Light, while European explorers in the 19th century reported fragments traded in secret by desert scholars. The most tantalizing clue emerged in the 1990s when a crumbling manuscript discovered in a Timbuktu basement contained passages eerily similar to descriptions of the lost gospel. Carbon dating placed it in the right era, but key sections were too damaged to confirm its identity. Today, the Heretical Gospel remains one of history's great religious mysteries. Was it truly a Gnostic relic or simply a local reinterpretation of Christianity? Did it preserve suppressed truths, or was its destruction justified as a safeguard against division? The answers may lie buried in the sands, waiting for another daring discovery. And as we move forward, prepare to uncover a different kind of secret, one not written in ink, but in the language of metals and magic. Now, let's step away from the realm of forbidden gospels and into a world where science and magic intertwine, the alchemical recipes of the Tuareg mystics. This enigmatic manuscript, hidden for centuries within the Lost Library of Timbuktu, wasn't just a collection of ancient formulas, it was a bridge between the material and the mystical. Written by desert sages who claimed to possess secrets from the stars, its pages promised the impossible, the transformation of base metals into gold and the recipe for an elixir granting eternal life. What makes this text so extraordinary is how closely it mirrors the alchemical traditions of medieval Europe, despite being penned thousands of miles away. The Tuareg mystics described processes like distillation and sublimation with startling precision, techniques that wouldn't appear in European texts until centuries later. Some scholars argue this was no coincidence, that caravans crossing the Sahara carried these ideas north, influencing figures like Paracelsus and Albertus Magnus. Others believe the similarities hint at a lost universal science, fragments of which survived in scattered corners of the world. But the manuscript's greatest mystery lies in its final pages, or rather their absence. The last section, which reportedly held the key to the great work of alchemy, was torn away, leaving only jagged edges and cryptic notes in the margins. Some say it was destroyed to prevent the unworthy from unlocking its power. Others whisper that the missing pages were stolen by a secretive order, still guarding their secrets to this day. The allure of this text isn't just in its promises of wealth or immortality. It's in the questions it forces us to ask. Were the Tuareg mystics true pioneers of chemistry, or were their recipes elaborate metaphors for spiritual transformation? And if those final pages still exist somewhere, what world-changing knowledge might they hold? As we turn the page, prepare to encounter a different kind of loss, not of ink and parchment, but of words and music silenced by time. Now, let's journey from the secrets of alchemy to the echoes of an empire, the vanished epic of Sundiata Keita. This legendary tale, once a cornerstone of Mali's history, celebrated the life of Sundiata, the warrior king who founded one of Africa's greatest empires. Yet today, only fragments of this epic survive, scattered like whispers in the wind. What makes this loss so haunting is how deliberately it was erased. When the Mali Empire fell, rival powers sought to rewrite history, dismantling Sundiata's legacy to weaken his descendants' claim to power. Manuscripts were burned and scribes were silenced. But the epic refused to disappear entirely. It lived on in the griots, West Africa's oral historians who passed down its verses through generations. These storytellers preserved glimpses of Sundiata's brilliance, his exile as a child, his triumphant return, and the Battle of Karina, where he united the Mandinka people under a single banner. The surviving fragments paint a portrait of a leader both fierce and wise. Sundiata wasn't just a conqueror, He was a visionary who established Timbuktu as a center of learning and trade. Some passages describe his famed lion's roar, a speech so powerful it rallied armies. Others hint at mystical elements like his mother's prophecy that he would walk where shadows fear to tread. Yet the full scope of the epic remains a mystery. How did it depict his rule? What lessons did it hold for future generations? The most tantalizing clue lies in a single half-burned page discovered in the ruins of a Timbuktu scholar's home. It speaks of a golden age under Sundiata where justice flowed like the Niger River, but the rest is ash. Was this epic purely historical, or did it contain hidden wisdom like the other lost texts of the library? For now, we're left with echoes and the enduring power of a story that refuses to be forgotten. As we move forward, prepare to uncover a different kind of mystery, one not of kings and empires, but of a love so tragic, its words were said to carry a curse. From the echoes of empires, we now step into the shadows of a love story steeped in sorrow and superstition, the cursed love letters of a Timbuktu scholar. These fragile pages, penned centuries ago, tell the tale of a scholar and his beloved, separated by fate and bound by words that seem to carry a dark weight. The letters were discovered tucked inside a crumbling manuscript, their ink faded but their anguish still palpable. They chronicle a forbidden romance between a revered Timbuktu academic and a woman from a rival family, their love doomed by political strife. What makes these letters infamous, however, isn't just their tragedy, it's the eerie pattern of misfortune that followed anyone who dared to read them. Local legends claim the scholar, heartbroken and desperate, placed a curse on the letters to keep their secrets from being trivialized. Those who ignored the warnings met with strange fates, vanishing belongings, sudden illnesses, even whispers of a shadowy figure seen lingering near their homes. One French historian in the 19th century reportedly went mad after translating them, scribbling in his journal that the letters spoke back to him. Another researcher's entire collection of Timbuktu manuscripts mysteriously burned to ash the night after he handled them, yet the letters' contents remain tantalizing. Fragments speak of clandestine meetings under the great mosque's arches, coded messages hidden in poetry, and a final, desperate plea. If our love cannot live in this world, let it haunt the next. Some believe the curse was never supernatural at all, but a deliberate act, a way to protect the identities of those involved, or perhaps to ensure their story was never erased. Today, the letters are kept under lock and key, handled only by gloved hands and wary eyes. Are they truly cursed, or is their power simply the weight of a love too fierce to be forgotten? Whatever the truth, they serve as a haunting reminder that some stories demand reverence or exact a price. And as we leave this tale of love and loss behind, another mystery awaits, one that blurs the line between myth and reality, hidden within the pages of a book filled with creatures no one can explain. Now, let's turn the page to a volume that straddles the line between legend and reality, the Book of Unseen Beasts. This extraordinary bestiary, hidden among the shelves of Timbuktu's Lost Library, is a vivid collection of creatures that defy explanation. Illustrated with meticulous detail, its pages are filled with beasts said to roam the vast, uncharted stretches of the Sahara, entities that no modern zoologist has ever classified. Some entries depict towering, serpentine dragons with scales that shimmer like desert mirages, while others sketch smaller, more elusive beings, hairy, humanoid figures with glowing eyes, or winged jackals that vanish into sandstorms. The descriptions are so precise that they raise an unsettling question. Were these merely the products of a scribe's vivid imagination, or could they be evidence of species now lost to time or still lurking in the shadows? Skeptics argue that the book is a work of allegory, blending local folklore with moral lessons. After all, many cultures use mythical creatures to symbolize dangers or virtues. But cryptozoologists point to the eerie consistency of certain accounts. For example, one creature, a horned, bipedal reptile dubbed the dune stalker, bears a striking resemblance to reports from nomadic traders even today, who swear they've glimpsed something similar near remote oases. Then there's the matter of the author's notes. Scattered between illustrations are frantic annotations warning travelers to avoid specific regions at certain times of the year, as if the creatures were not just real but predictable. One passage chillingly claims that a beast known as the Whispering Shadow could mimic human voices to lure victims into the dunes. So, was this book a field guide to the unknown or a cautionary tale woven from superstition? The truth may lie somewhere in between. What's undeniable is that these stories, whether fact or fiction, reveal how the Sahara's vast emptiness has always stirred the human mind to fill it with wonders and terrors. And as we close this chapter on the unseen, another mystery calls, one that rewrites history itself, hidden within the forbidden archives of an empire's rise and fall. But now, let's step into the shadows of power, where history is often rewritten by the victors. Hidden among the lost records of Timbuktu was a manuscript so controversial, it threatened to unravel the very foundation of the Songhai Empire's legacy. Known as the Forbidden History, this suppressed account dared to challenge the empire's official chronicles, offering a version of events so explosive, it was swiftly erased from public memory. At its heart, this forbidden text questioned the glorified tales of the empire's golden age under rulers like Sunny Ali and Askia the Great. While official records painted these leaders as unifiers and visionaries, the manuscript hinted at darker truths: political purges, silenced dissent, and even whispers of betrayal within the royal court. One passage described a failed coup against Askia, led by his own sons, an event conspicuously absent from sanctioned histories. Another detailed the empire's reliance on forced labor to build its grandest monuments, a stark contrast to the narrative of prosperity for all. So why was this history banned? Power, of course. The Songhai elite understood that controlling the past meant controlling the future. By burying dissent and glorifying their rule, they cemented their legitimacy. But the manuscript's most shocking claim, that the empire's collapse wasn't solely due to the Moroccan invasion in the late 16th century as textbooks claim, but to internal rot. Corruption, famine, and rebellions had already weakened Songhai from within long before foreign armies arrived. Historians today debate whether these revelations were suppressed for being false or for being too true. Fragments of the text that survived hint at even deeper secrets: lost alliances, stolen relics, and a royal bloodline that may have survived in exile. Yet without the full manuscript, we're left piecing together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. And as we leave the empire's buried truths behind, another gap in history beckons, one hidden in the torn pages of a traveler's censored journey. Now, let's turn our attention to a traveler whose words were deemed too dangerous to leave untouched. Among the most celebrated yet enigmatic records from Timbuktu are the missing pages of Leo Africanus' famed travel writings. A diplomat, scholar, and adventurer, Leo Africanus penned one of the most detailed accounts of 16th century Africa. Yet key sections of his work vanished mysteriously, leaving behind gaps that historians still scramble to explain. The missing pages are believed to have contained observations so politically charged, they threatened the delicate balance of power in the regions he described. Leo's uncensored writings reportedly exposed the inner workings of Saharan trade networks, including secret alliances between North African rulers and European merchants, deals that bypassed official channels and enriched a select few. Even more explosive were his alleged descriptions of court intrigues within the Songhai Empire, including bribery and espionage that undermined its stability. But why erase these passages? Some scholars argue it was an act of self-preservation. Leo Africanus, after all, was a man caught between worlds, born in Granada, educated in Fez, and later captured by pirates and presented to the Pope. His survival depended on diplomacy, and offending the wrong ruler could have cost him his life. others suspect the censorship came later, from European powers who sought to control the narrative of African wealth and governance to justify colonial ambitions. The missing pages might have revealed too much about the continent's sophistication, contradicting the myth of a dark continent waiting for European salvation. The most tantalizing theory, that Leo's original manuscript contained a map, one that charted gold mines or trading posts so lucrative, their locations were deliberately scrubbed from history. Fragments of his work reference a river of gold and cities hidden in plain sight, but without the full text, these clues lead nowhere. As we piece together the fragments of Leo's redacted journey, another mystery calls, one locked in the private diary of a librarian who witnessed the library's final days. But hidden beneath the whispers of erased history lies an even more intimate account, one that takes us inside the library's walls as its fate hung in the balance. The secret diary of a Timbuktu librarian offers a haunting first-hand glimpse into the final days of this legendary institution. Unlike official records, these handwritten pages pulse with urgency, as if the unnamed librarian sensed the coming storm. The entries begin calmly enough: routine notes on scrolls repaired, scholars welcomed, new acquisitions catalogued. But then the tone shifts. The librarian writes of strangers arriving under cover of night, their faces obscured by indigo veils, demanding access to the rarest texts. Some were royal emissaries, others mercenaries or foreign agents, but all shared one goal: to cherry-pick knowledge before it vanished. The diary describes how these shadowy figures bypassed official channels, bribing guards or simply taking what they wanted under the pretense of preservation. Most chilling are the librarian's cryptic warnings. In one passage they scribble, "The air tastes of smoke, though no fire burns." Later, they recount a dream of books with wings fleeing like birds into the desert. Were these metaphors for the looming destruction or something more supernatural? Scholars debate whether the librarian anticipated the library's physical sacking, or if they foresaw a deeper, slower erasure as knowledge slipped into obscurity. The diary's final pages are the most enigmatic. Names are scratched out, locations reduced to vague descriptions like the place where the rivers meet. Yet one clue stands out, a repeated symbol resembling an eye inside a triangle, etched hastily in the margins. Some link it to secret societies that allegedly salvaged texts. Others believe it was the librarian's way of marking which works were smuggled to safety. As the entries grow sparse, the librarian's fear is palpable. The last legible words, they come not for gold but for memory itself. Then silence. This intimate testimony raises more questions than answers. Who were these veiled figures? Where did the rarest scrolls disappear to? And what did the librarian know that they couldn't or wouldn't write down? The answers may lie in another mystery altogether: the stolen mathematical proofs of Ahmed Baba, a scholar whose genius was allegedly appropriated by those who sought to rewrite history. But the story of stolen knowledge doesn't end with the librarian's diary. Among the most controversial losses from Timbuktu's library is a collection of mathematical breakthroughs credited to one of its brightest minds, Ahmed Baba. His work, once celebrated across the Islamic world, became the center of a centuries-old dispute over who truly discovered these revolutionary ideas. Ahmed Baba's manuscripts contained solutions to problems European mathematicians wouldn't tackle for another 200 years. He described algebraic methods for calculating compound interest, geometric proofs for architectural innovations, and even early concepts resembling calculus. But here's where the mystery deepens. In the 17th century, nearly a century after Baba's death, strikingly similar theories began appearing in the works of European scholars, with no credit given to their African origins. Historians have spent decades piecing together the trail of these stolen proofs. Some believe they were taken during the Moroccan invasion of Timbuktu in the late 16th century, when entire chests of manuscripts were hauled away as spoils of war. Others point to clandestine deals between European traders and local intermediaries who may have sold Baba's work without understanding its value. Either way, the result was the same, a rewriting of mathematical history that erased his contributions. The implications are staggering. If Baba's original texts had been preserved and recognized, the entire timeline of mathematical progress might look different today. Instead, his name faded into obscurity while European scholars built their reputations on his ideas. Yet hope isn't lost. Fragments of Baba's work survive in scattered references. A footnote in a Moroccan scholar's notebook, a diagram copied into a Persian astronomy text. Modern researchers are racing to reconstruct his legacy, using these breadcrumbs to challenge long-held assumptions about the history of mathematics. The quest to recover Ahmed Baba's original proofs isn't just about correcting the past. It's a reminder that knowledge once stolen can still find its way home. And as we'll soon see, some secrets from Timbuktu's library weren't merely taken, they were prophesied, hidden in the apocalyptic visions of a Sufi saint who warned of the library's fate centuries before it happened. But the mysteries of Timbuktu's lost knowledge take an even stranger turn when we examine the writings of a Sufi saint who seemed to foresee the library's destruction centuries before it happened. This manuscript, known as the Apocalyptic Visions, contains chillingly precise descriptions of Timbuktu's downfall, burning manuscripts, fleeing scholars, and invaders looting its treasures. What makes these predictions so unsettling is how closely they match the historical events that unfolded in the late 16th century. The saint's visions didn't stop there. He wrote of a great darkness swallowing the city's wisdom, of books vanishing into the hands of foreigners, and even of a time when the world would forget Timbuktu's brilliance entirely. Some scholars argue these passages couldn't possibly have been written before the events they describe. Their accuracy is simply too perfect. They suspect the text was altered or even fabricated after the fact, perhaps as a warning to future generations about the fragility of knowledge. Yet others point to eerie consistencies with the saint's other authenticated works. His writing style, his metaphors, even the ink and parchment used, all match manuscripts known to be from his era. If it is a forgery, it's one of the most sophisticated in history, but if it's genuine, it raises unsettling questions. How could someone centuries earlier have predicted the exact manner of Timbuktu's ruin? Was it divine insight, or did the saint have access to hidden knowledge about cycles of history that repeat themselves? The debate continues to divide historians. Some dismiss the manuscript as a clever hoax, while others see it as proof that certain truths transcend time. Either way, the apocalyptic visions serve as a haunting reminder knowledge, once lost, can vanish so completely that even the warnings meant to protect it fade into obscurity. And speaking of warnings, our next record takes us deeper into the unknown, a manuscript written in a language no one has ever been able to decipher. What secrets might it hold? Now we turn to a manuscript that has baffled scholars for centuries, a record written in a language so obscure, no one has ever cracked its code. Known simply as the untranslatable language of the desert nomads, this text is a labyrinth of symbols, curves, and markings that defy every attempt at interpretation. Unlike other scripts from the region, which borrow from Arabic or ancient African writing systems, this one stands entirely alone, a linguistic ghost with no known relatives. The first recorded attempt to decipher it was made by a French linguist in the early 19th century. He spent years comparing it to every known alphabet from Berber to Coptic, but found no matches. Modern technology hasn't fared much better. Computer algorithms designed to decode ancient languages hit a wall, unable to even identify a consistent grammatical structure. Some researchers believe the script isn't a language at all, but a complex cipher meant to conceal secrets from prying eyes. Then there are the theories tying it to lost civilizations. A handful of archaeologists argue the symbols resemble carvings found in remote Saharan caves, suggesting a connection to a forgotten culture that once thrived in the desert. Others go further, proposing the manuscript was created by a secret society, perhaps a guild of scholars or mystics who guarded their knowledge behind an unbreakable code. There's even a fringe hypothesis that the script isn't human in origin, pointing to its unnatural geometric precision as evidence of something otherworldly. But the most compelling clue might lie in the manuscript's physical form. Unlike most texts from Timbuktu, which were penned on parchment or vellum, this one was etched onto thin sheets of metal, as if designed to survive the ages. Was it meant to outlast its creators, and if so, why go to such lengths to make it unreadable? One thing is certain: until someone cracks this code, the desert nomad's message remains locked away, a silent whisper from the past. And as we move forward, our next record plunges us into the supernatural, with ghostly tales from Timbuktu's most haunted quarter. But now we step into the shadows of Timbuktu's past, where whispers of the supernatural linger in its oldest streets. The ghostly accounts of Timbuktu's haunted quarter isn't just a collection of eerie tales. It's a window into the fears and beliefs of a city steeped in mystery. These stories, meticulously recorded by scholars centuries ago, describe encounters with restless spirits, phantom caravans, and voices echoing from empty alleyways long after midnight. What makes these accounts so chilling isn't just their content, but the fact that they were deliberately suppressed. Unlike other manuscripts from the library, which were lost to time or conflict, these were actively buried. Some historians believe it was an attempt to maintain order. After all, a city known for its scholarship couldn't afford rumors of the supernatural shaking its reputation. Others argue the stories hit too close to home, revealing truths about Timbuktu's darker history that powerful figures wanted forgotten. Take the tale of the scholar's lantern, for instance. According to the manuscript, a ghostly light was seen floating near the old university for decades, always vanishing when approached. Locals claimed it was the spirit of a teacher who had been unjustly exiled, forever searching for his lost students. Then there's the account of the cursed well, where travelers reported hearing whispers rising from the water, voices speaking in languages no one could identify. But these weren't just campfire stories. The cultural significance runs deep. In a place where knowledge was sacred, the idea that some truths might be too dangerous to speak aloud, or that the dead themselves could demand justice, was both terrifying and profound. The haunted quarter wasn't just a setting for ghost stories. It was a reflection of the city's unresolved conflicts, its unhealed wounds. And as we peel back these layers, one question lingers: why preserve these accounts at all if they were meant to be silenced? Perhaps because even in a city of scholars, some mysteries defy explanation. And with that, our next record takes us from the supernatural to the political, where hidden ledgers expose the secrets of Timbuktu's most powerful traders. But now, we turn from spectral whispers to something far more tangible and dangerous. The forbidden trade ledgers of the salt caravans didn't just record transactions, they exposed the underbelly of Timbuktu's wealth. These meticulously kept documents revealed a web of hidden trade routes, secret alliances, and deals struck far from the eyes of the law. Salt was the lifeblood of the Sahara, more valuable than gold in some markets, and these ledgers held the truth about who controlled it and at what cost. What made these records so explosive wasn't just the sums of money involved, but the names they contained. Kings, scholars, even religious leaders appeared in the margins, tied to deals that contradicted their public reputations. Some entries hinted at bribes paid to bypass taxes, while others detailed shipments of goods that mysteriously vanished before reaching their destinations. The ledgers didn't just track commerce, they mapped corruption. So why were they confiscated? The answer lies in power. When the Songhai Empire tightened its grip on Timbuktu, controlling trade meant controlling the city. These ledgers proved that the official narrative of fair markets and orderly caravans was a carefully crafted illusion. Worse, they revealed factions within the empire itself working against one another, with rival families using the salt trade to fund private armies or sway political favor. One particularly damning page listed payments to a network of informants, suggesting the caravans were as much about espionage as they were about salt. Another showed a sudden surge in shipments to a distant oasis coinciding with the disappearance of a rival noble family. It's no wonder the ledgers were seized and locked away. Knowledge like this could topple dynasties, yet here's the twist: someone risked their life to save them. Unlike other records lost to time, these ledgers were smuggled out before they could be burned. Was it a disgruntled clerk, a rival trader? Whoever it was, their defiance preserved a truth that still resonates today, that even in a city of scholars, the most dangerous secrets weren't written in riddles or codes, but in plain numbers. And with that, we move from the politics of trade to something far more personal: the artistry that once flourished in Timbuktu's streets. But while the ledgers exposed the dark undercurrents of power, Timbuktu's soul was always found in its art, specifically the delicate dance of ink and parchment. The lost art of Timbuktu's master calligraphers wasn't just a manual, it was a testament to a vanishing craft where every stroke carried the weight of centuries. This manuscript didn't merely teach how to shape letters, it revealed how calligraphy was woven into the city's identity, transforming words into visual poetry. The manual's pages were said to contain techniques so precise they could mimic the flutter of a bird's wing or the curve of a desert dune. Some scholars believe these methods were passed down through generations of scribes, guarded as closely as state secrets. The ink recipes alone were legendary blends of crushed indigo, gum arabic, and even gold dust, creating hues that shimmered under candlelight. But the true marvel was the script itself, a fluid style known as Saharian, which balanced elegance with readability, making it the preferred script for royal decrees and sacred texts alike. Then, abruptly, it disappeared. The last confirmed sighting of the manual was in the hands of a calligrapher named Al-Hassan al-Timbuktu, who reportedly fled the city during its decline, taking the manuscript with him. Some claim he buried it in the dunes to protect it from looters, while others whisper it was smuggled to Morocco, hidden among less valuable texts. What's certain is that when the manual vanished, so did the mastery of Saharian script. For centuries, its techniques existed only in fragments, a faded line in a margin, a half-remembered anecdote in a traveler's journal. Yet today, there's a quiet revival underway. Modern calligraphers, armed with digital scans of surviving fragments, are piecing together the lost art stroke by stroke. In workshops from Bamako to Paris, artisans experiment with reconstructed inks and rediscovered pen angles, striving to recapture that elusive beauty. One project, the Timbuktu Script Initiative, even crowdsourced clues from private collections, hoping to trace the manual's fate. The question remains, where is the original? In 2019, a dealer in Marrakech claimed to have seen a battered manuscript matching its description. But before scholars could authenticate it, the trail went cold. Whether it's gathering dust in a private library or crumbled to nothing in the desert, its legacy endures, because in Timbuktu, even lost art leaves echoes. And with that, we turn from the beauty of script to something far more explosive: the hidden genealogies that threaten to rewrite history. But while the revival of Timbuktu's calligraphy offers hope, some manuscripts carried secrets too dangerous to resurface. Among them was the explosive hidden genealogy of the Sahel kings, a royal lineage record that didn't just trace bloodlines, it shattered them. This wasn't merely a family tree. It was a meticulously documented challenge to the legitimacy of West Africa's most powerful dynasties, exposing adoptions, disputed successions, and even cases where rulers had no royal blood at all. The manuscript's anonymous author, likely a court insider, backed each claim with marriage contracts, witness testimonies, and sealed letters that contradicted official histories. Unsurprisingly, those in power saw it as a threat. When the Songhai Empire's chancellor discovered the genealogy in the late 1500s, he ordered every copy burned and the scribes who reproduced it imprisoned. But one version survived, hidden in the library's restricted vaults under a false title. Even there, it was rarely accessed. Librarians noted that scholars who studied it often met with sudden demotions or exile. The implications were staggering. If widely known, the genealogy could have destabilized entire regions. It suggested that the revered founder of one dynasty was actually a puppet installed by merchants, while another king's famed ancestry traced back to a captured slave rather than a warrior prince. Most explosive was its account of the Malian Empire's collapse, blaming not external invasions but a deliberate plot by disinherited royals. Modern historians debate its reliability. Some argue it was propaganda crafted by rivals to undermine sitting rulers. Others point to its meticulous cross-referencing of dates and events as evidence of its accuracy. Either way, its suppression reshaped history. Without it, generations accepted sanitized versions of royal origins. The last intact copy vanished during Timbuktu's 1996 uprising when militants looted archives. But fragments persist, including a page smuggled to Mauritania in 2012. Its contents, a single line that still chills scholars: "No throne is earned by blood alone." And with that revelation hanging in the air, we turn to a mystery that appeals not to scholars or rulers, but to the ears, because in Timbuktu's ruins, even silence had a melody. But while the echoes of royal bloodlines fade into history, another kind of sound once filled the air of Timbuktu, music so captivating it was said to bend the desert itself to its will. This brings us to the haunting mystery of the vanished music of the desert, a manuscript that didn't just record songs but seemed to capture the very soul of the Sahara. Imagine a world where melodies were maps guiding caravans through shifting dunes, and where instruments held the power to summon rain or silence sandstorms. This manuscript, written by an unknown composer in the 1400s, detailed intricate scales and rhythms unlike anything in recorded history. It described harps strung with camel gut, drums carved from ancient baobabs, and a flute made of black meteorite iron that allegedly played notes no human throat could sing. The music wasn't just entertainment, it was sacred. Nomadic tribes used these compositions in rituals to honor the dead, celebrate births, and even negotiate peace between warring clans. But the manuscript's most chilling passage warned of melodies too powerful to perform. One song, titled "The Whisper That Moves the Dunes," was said to have caused an entire encampment to vanish after a single performance. Witnesses claimed the musicians played on as the sand swallowed them, their final notes rising like mist into the night. Scholars who studied the manuscript noted strange patterns, mathematical sequences in the notation that mirrored celestial movements, suggesting the music might have been a form of encoded astronomy. Others believed it held healing properties, with specific harmonies rumored to cure ailments or induce trances. But the truth vanished along with the manuscript itself, likely destroyed during the Moroccan invasion of Timbuktu in the 1590s. Yet fragments survive in oral traditions. Tuareg elders still hum melodies they insist came from the lost manuscript, and in 2008, a team of ethnomusicologists recorded a nomadic griot singing a tune that matched one of its described scales note for note. The griot claimed his ancestors had been cursed for playing it. Every generation since had been born with one hand permanently clenched, as if still gripping an invisible instrument. Whether myth or history, this lost music reminds us that some art is too potent to outlast its time. And as the last echoes of these desert symphonies fade, we're left to wonder what other secrets might still lie buried beneath the sands, waiting for the right ear to hear them. But silence isn't always empty. Sometimes it's a pact, a vow between scholars to guard knowledge at all costs. And that brings us to the next mystery, one woven not from parchment but from promises. Yet even in the face of silence, whispers of resistance linger. Hidden beneath the layers of time lies a story not of lost knowledge, but of those who fought to save it. Enter the secret pact of the Timbuktu scholars, a shadowy agreement that may have altered the course of history. Picture this as invaders closed in on the city. A group of scholars gathered in the dead of night, not to flee, but to make a vow. Their mission: to scatter the library's most precious texts across the Sahara, entrusting them to nomadic tribes, hidden caves, and even the walls of their own homes. The pact was simple. No single person would know all the hiding places, ensuring that even under torture, the knowledge could never be fully erased. Some manuscripts were sewn into the linings of travelers' robes, others buried beneath the floors of mosques, and a few were said to be disguised as mundane shopping lists or love letters. But here's where the mystery deepens. No physical copy of this pact has ever been found. The only evidence comes from fragmented letters and oral accounts passed down through generations. One scholar's diary, discovered in the 1990s, cryptically mentions a covenant of ink and sand, while a Tuareg elder once recounted a childhood tale of strangers arriving at his great-grandfather's tent, leaving behind a chest with strict instructions to guard it until the city calls again. Skeptics argue the pact is just a romantic legend, a way to explain how some texts survived against impossible odds. Yet consider this: in 2012, when militants occupied Timbuktu, locals risked their lives to smuggle thousands of manuscripts to safety in a daring operation mirroring the ancient pact's methods. Coincidence or proof that the scholar's strategy endured for centuries? The truth may lie somewhere between myth and reality. What's undeniable is the legacy of defiance, a reminder that knowledge, once unleashed, is nearly impossible to destroy. And as we turn the page to the next mystery, ask yourself, how far would you go to protect the ideas that define your world? But not all secrets were meant to be kept. Some were meant to burn, a fate that awaits our next record, one shrouded in fire and forbidden rites. Now we step into the shadows of faith and fear, where whispers of the forbidden still echo across the dunes. Among the most enigmatic records of Timbuktu's Lost Library is the Forbidden Rituals of the Sand Priests, a manuscript so dangerous it was condemned to flames. This wasn't just a religious text, it was a manual of ceremonies so potent, so unsettling, that rulers ordered its destruction. The rituals described within were said to harness the raw power of the desert itself. Some accounts speak of invocations to summon sandstorms, others of rites to commune with spirits whispered to wander the empty wastes. But the most chilling entries detailed a ceremony known as the Unbinding, a ritual to dissolve the boundary between the living and the dead. Why was it burned? The official decree claimed the text corrupted the pious with blasphemy. Yet fragments salvaged from ash piles hint at another reason: power. Local legends say the Sand Priests, a secretive sect, used these rituals to challenge the authority of both kings and clerics. One surviving letter from a terrified governor describes entire villages falling into trances, their people dancing under the moon until their feet bled, all under the priest's command. But here's the twist: no one knows if the rituals ever worked. Some scholars argue the manual was pure propaganda, a scare tactic to justify cracking down on dissent. Others point to eerie parallels in nomadic oral traditions, where tales persist of the lost night, when the desert allegedly answered a priest's call and swallowed an entire army. The truth may be lost to the fire, but the legacy of fear remains. Even today, mentioning the Sand Priests in certain regions draws hushed warnings. And as we move forward, remember, some secrets weren't just hidden to protect knowledge. Some were buried to protect us from it. Next, we uncover a theft that reshaped a skyline, the stolen blueprint of Timbuktu's beating heart. But now, let's turn our attention from the whispers of the desert to the very stones that shaped Timbuktu's skyline, the Great Mosque, a masterpiece of Saharan architecture. Hidden among the lost records of the library was something far more tangible: the stolen blueprint of the Great Mosque, a set of meticulously drawn plans that vanished without a trace centuries ago. These weren't just sketches, they were the lifeblood of the mosque's design, revealing secrets of its construction that defied the harsh desert climate. The blueprint detailed everything from the precise alignment of its towering minaret to the hidden cooling systems woven into its walls, innovations that kept worshippers sheltered from the scorching heat. But what made these plans truly priceless was their rumored inclusion of a secret chamber, a space never found in modern surveys of the building. So who took them? Theories abound. Some point to rival cities jealous of Timbuktu's architectural genius. Others whisper of European collectors who coveted African knowledge long before museums filled with looted art. The most tantalizing clue comes from a merchant's diary, which mentions a shadowy figure paying a fortune for papers of sand and ink just before the plans disappeared. Yet the real mystery isn't just who stole them, it's why. Some scholars believe the blueprint held more than building instructions. Coded annotations in the margins, referenced in other texts, suggest the mosque's layout may have doubled as a celestial map, aligning with stars used by desert navigators. Others speculate the missing chamber was a vault. Perhaps even the original resting place of manuscripts later moved to the library for safekeeping. Centuries later, the blueprint's absence still haunts historians. Rebuilding efforts have stumbled without its guidance, and modern scans of the mosque reveal anomalies, walls thicker than they should be, spaces that echo hollow. Could the answers still lie buried in some private collection or forgotten archive? Or were they destroyed to keep the mosque's deepest secrets hidden forever? As we piece together this architectural puzzle, one thing is clear. The loss of these plans didn't just rob Timbuktu of its past, it stole a key to understanding how a city of scholars tamed the desert itself. And with that, we approach our final record, a warning left behind by those who saw the end coming. Now, as we reach the final chapter of this journey through Timbuktu's lost wisdom, we encounter the most haunting record of all, the final scroll, a warning to future generations. Unlike the other manuscripts, this one wasn't hidden or stolen. It was left deliberately, almost as if its author knew the library's fate and wanted to speak across the centuries. Written in a trembling hand, the scroll begins not with knowledge but with a dire prophecy. It describes a time when the ink of scholars will fade and the walls of memory will crumble, a clear reference to the destruction of Timbuktu's libraries. But the warning goes deeper. The unknown scholar writes of cycles, how empires rise only to fall, how knowledge is gathered and then scattered, and how each generation forgets the lessons of the last. What makes this scroll so chilling are its eerie specifics. It mentions fires carried on the wind, a possible allusion to the invaders who burned countless manuscripts. It warns of voices that twist truth, perhaps foreshadowing the deliberate erasure of African history by colonial powers. Most haunting of all is its central plea, to protect wisdom not in grand institutions, but in many hands and hidden places, so that no single disaster can destroy it all. Scholars have debated whether this was a genuine prophecy or a clever forgery added later, but the evidence leans toward authenticity. The ink matches other 15th century manuscripts, and the writing style reflects the despair of Timbuktu's final golden days. What's undeniable is its relevance today. In an age of digital fragility where knowledge can vanish with a keystroke, the scroll's message feels unnervingly modern. The final lines are a rallying cry. Let the children of the future remember, it urges, for the desert does not forget, even when men do. With that, the scroll ends not with a signature but with a single symbol, an open hand, the ancient Saharan gesture of both greeting and farewell. And so we close this exploration of Timbuktu's lost records, not with answers but with a responsibility. These 25 mysteries remind us that history isn't just about the past. It's a conversation with the future, one we must keep alive. If you've been captivated by these enigmatic texts, share your thoughts below. What secrets do you think still lie buried in the sands? And most importantly, what will we do to ensure they're not lost again? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join us on more journeys into the forgotten corners of history. The desert still has stories to tell. Will you listen as we bring this journey through the Lost Library of Timbuktu to a close? Let's take a moment to reflect on the incredible tapestry of knowledge these 25 mysterious records have revealed. From Forbidden Astronomy Scrolls that predicted the stars with uncanny precision, to the coded wealth secrets of Musa, each manuscript offers a glimpse into a world where wisdom was both revered and feared. We've unraveled medical treatises ahead of their time, phantom maps that defied history, and even ghostly accounts of a city's haunted past. Together, they paint a picture of Timbuktu not just as a center of learning, but as a guardian of truths too powerful to be forgotten. What ties these records together is more than just their enigmatic nature. It's the urgency they carry. They remind us that knowledge is fragile, and history is often written by those who silence opposing voices. The Lost Library's fate is a cautionary tale, but also a call to action. In a world where information can disappear in an instant, whether through conflict, neglect, or the fleeting nature of digital archives, these texts challenge us to ask, how will we protect the wisdom of our own era? The stories of Timbuktu's scholars, their hidden pacts, their smuggled scrolls, their desperate efforts to preserve truth resonate deeply today. They teach us that preserving history isn't just about safeguarding the past, it's about honoring the voices that future generations will need to hear. So now, we turn to you. Which of these 25 records captivated you the most? Do you believe some of these manuscripts still survive, waiting to be rediscovered? Share your theories in the comments below, because the conversation about Timbuktu's legacy is far from over. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into history's hidden corners, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries of the past, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. The desert sands may guard their secrets closely, but with curious minds like yours, those secrets won't stay buried forever. Until next time, keep questioning, keep discovering, and most importantly, keep remembering.